Hidden beneath the dense jungles of Central America lie the ruins of one of history's most sophisticated civilizations. The Maya built massive pyramid temples that pierced the forest canopy, created astronomical observatories that tracked celestial movements with incredible precision, developed the only fully written language in pre-Columbian Americas, and constructed cities that rivaled anything in the ancient world. For over 3,000 years, from around 2000 BCE to the Spanish conquest in the 1500s CE, Maya civilization flourished across what is now southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. This wasn't a unified empire like Rome or Egypt. Instead, it was a complex network of city-states, each ruled by divine kings who claimed descent from the gods, each competing for power, territory, and prestige. These cities waged wars, formed alliances, conducted trade over vast distances, and created art and architecture of breathtaking beauty. At their peak, during the classic period from 250 to 900 CE, some Maya cities housed populations of over 100,000 people, making them larger than most European cities of the same era. The Maya were master astronomers who calculated the solar year with incredible accuracy, predicted eclipses, and tracked Venus with precision. They were mathematicians who independently invented the concept of zero. They were engineers who built massive structures without metal tools, the wheel, or beasts of burden. They were artists who created intricate murals, sculptures, and painted ceramics depicting their gods, kings, and daily life. But around 900 CE, something catastrophic happened. The great cities of the southern lowlands were abandoned, populations collapsed, the elaborate court systems disappeared, jungle reclaimed the temples and palaces. This Maya collapse remains one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. Some cities survived, adapting and continuing into the post-classic period until Spanish conquest. But the golden age was over. Modern archaeology using LiDAR technology has revealed that Maya civilization was far more extensive than previously imagined. With thousands of structures hidden under jungle canopy, new discoveries are rewriting what we know about Maya power, population, and sophistication. This is the story of 37 of the most important Maya cities, their rise to power, their achievements, and their eventual fate. Nacbe is one of the oldest known large-scale Maya cities, demonstrating that monumental architecture and complex society emerged far earlier than scholars once believed. Located in the remote Petén Basin of northern Guatemala, Nacbe flourished during the Middle Preclassic period, around 1000 to 400 BCE, making it one of the first true Maya cities. Archaeological surveys using LiDAR technology have revealed that Nacbe was enormous, covering about 50 square kilometers with massive pyramids and platforms that required millions of person-hours to construct. The city's architecture shows sophisticated urban planning with large plazas, causeways connecting different sectors, and pyramid complexes that established patterns later Maya cities would follow. The largest structure at Nacbe rises over 100 feet, comparable to later classic period pyramids, demonstrating that Maya architectural ambition existed from the civilization's beginning. What makes Nacbe particularly significant is evidence of long-distance trade networks and social stratification. Jade, obsidian, and other luxury goods from distant sources indicate Nacbe participated in trade networks spanning Mesoamerica. The scale of construction required organized labor, suggesting a hierarchical society with rulers who could command massive workforces. Nacbe's decline around 400 BCE coincided with the rise of El Mirador, its even larger neighbor, suggesting competition for resources and population. Today, Nacbe remains largely unexcavated due to its remote location, accessible only by helicopter or days-long trek through jungle. But its size and antiquity demonstrate that Maya civilization's roots go deeper than once imagined. With complex urbanism and monumental architecture emerging over 1,000 years before the classic period's famous cities, El Mirador was the first Maya megacity, a massive metropolis that at its peak around 300 BCE to 100 CE may have housed over 100,000 people, making it one of the largest cities in the ancient world at that time. Located deep in Guatemala's Petén jungle, El Mirador was lost to history until rediscovered in 1926 and has only been seriously studied since the 1980s. The city's scale is staggering. The La Danta Pyramid Complex is one of the largest pyramids by volume ever built, larger than Egypt's Great Pyramid. The structure rises over 200 feet and sits atop a massive platform, creating a mountain-like monument visible for miles across the flat jungle. The Tiger Complex, another massive pyramid group, demonstrates that El Mirador had multiple monumental centers within a single urban area. LiDAR surveys have revealed that El Mirador was connected to dozens of surrounding sites by massive raised causeways called sacbib, creating a regional network with El Mirador as the hub. These causeways, some over 30 feet wide and elevated above the swampy terrain, allowed movement of goods and people across vast distances. The city's architecture features elaborate stucco masks of gods and supernatural beings, some over 30 feet tall, flanking stairways and decorating building facades. These masks, depicting deities and mythological scenes, show that religious iconography and the cosmic worldview that characterized later Maya civilization were already fully developed by the late El Mirador's collapse around 150 CE remains mysterious. Climate change, particularly droughts, may have stressed the agricultural system that supported the massive population. Deforestation to produce lime plaster for construction may have degraded the environment. Warfare with rival cities could have disrupted trade networks. Whatever the cause, El Mirador was largely abandoned, though it saw later reoccupation during the Classic period. The city's ruins, covered by jungle for nearly 2 millennia, are now the focus of conservation efforts. The remote location has protected the site from looting, and archaeologists are working to preserve and study this remarkable example of early Maya urbanism. El Mirador demonstrates that Maya civilization achieved remarkable sophistication very early, with urban planning, monumental architecture, and political complexity that wouldn't be matched in Mesoamerica for centuries. San Bartolo is a relatively small site compared to giants like El Mirador, but it holds extraordinary importance due to the discovery of the earliest known Maya murals, which revolutionized understanding of pre-classic Maya art, writing, and religion. Located in northeastern Guatemala, San Bartolo dates to around 300 BCE to 100 CE during the late pre-classic period. In 2001, archaeologist William Satano, while exploring the remote jungle site, discovered a small room in a pyramid structure with walls covered in elaborate painted murals. These murals, dating to around 100 BCE, are the oldest known Maya wall paintings and among the finest examples of pre-classic art ever discovered. The murals depict mythological scenes including the Maya creation story, showing gods engaged in ritual activities including bloodletting and the crowning of a king. One scene shows the maize god being reborn, a fundamental Maya religious concept. Another depicts a king receiving the symbols of rulership from deities, demonstrating that the ideology of divine kingship was already established in the pre-classic period. The artistic sophistication is remarkable, with multiple figures in complex poses, narrative scenes telling stories, and details that reveal advanced painting techniques. The murals also contain hieroglyphic texts, among the earliest known Maya writing, showing that the script was already being used for historical and religious purposes centuries before the Classic period. The San Bartolo murals fundamentally changed archaeological understanding of the pre-Classic period. Previously, scholars believed that many aspects of classic Maya civilization, particularly elaborate art, complex writing, and the divine kingship ideology, developed during the Classic period. San Bartolo proved these elements existed fully formed at least 300 years earlier. The site has yielded other important discoveries, including royal tombs with elaborate offerings and more painted murals and other structures. Conservation efforts are ongoing to preserve the fragile paintings from the humidity and biological growth that threaten their survival. San Bartolo demonstrates that Maya civilization's intellectual, artistic, and political sophistication emerged very early, challenging previous models of gradual development. Civil is another significant pre-classic site that has revealed important information about early Maya civilization through recent excavations, located near San Bartolo in Guatemala's Petón region. Civil flourished during the middle to late pre-classic period, around 800 BCE to 100 CE. Archaeological investigations have uncovered massive platforms and pyramids, elaborate burials, and evidence of long-distance trade. What makes Civil particularly interesting is its relationship with nearby sites like San Bartolo and Nakbi. These sites appear to have been part of a regional network, possibly allied or under common political control. During the Civil's architecture includes massive triadic pyramid complexes, a distinctive Maya architectural form featuring a dominant central pyramid flanked by two smaller structures, all sitting on a shared platform. This architectural pattern becomes common in later Maya cities, and its early appearance at Civil and neighboring sites suggests this was a pre-classic innovation. Excavations have revealed elaborate stucco masks decorating building facades, carved stone monuments, and painted murals, though less well-preserved than those at San Bartolo. The site's prosperity apparently derived from participation in trade networks and possibly control of agricultural hinterlands. Like many pre-classic sites in the region, Civil declined around 100 to 150 CE as part of the broader pre-classic collapse that affected the Mirador Basin. The site was reoccupied during the Classic period but never regained its earlier importance. Research at Civil continues to provide insights into pre-classic Maya political organization, trade networks, and the development of architectural and artistic traditions. Comchen represents Maya development in the northern Yucatan Peninsula, far from the southern lowland centers like El Mirador and Nakbi located near modern Mérida in Mexico's Yucatan state. Comchen flourished during the middle pre-classic period, around 500 to 150 BCE, making it one of the earliest significant Maya sites in the northern lowlands. The site covers about 2 square kilometers and features pyramidal platforms, plazas, and residential areas showing clear social stratification. Comchen's architecture differs from contemporary southern sites, reflecting regional variations in Maya culture. The site participated in long-distance trade networks, with archaeological evidence of shell, jade, and obsidian from distant sources. Comchen's importance lies in demonstrating that complex Maya society developed throughout the Maya region, not just in the southern lowlands. The northern Yucatan, often considered peripheral in early Maya studies, clearly had its own trajectory of development, with cities like Comchin establishing patterns that later northern sites like Uxmal and Chichen Itza would follow. Comchin declined around 150 BCE as regional power shifted to other northern sites. The site remained largely abandoned until modern archaeological investigations beginning in the 1980s revealed its significance. Comchin's study has been crucial for understanding regional diversity in Maya civilization and demonstrating that the preclassic period saw complex development throughout the Maya world, not just in a few core areas. Tikal was one of the greatest cities in the ancient Americas, a superpower that dominated Maya politics for centuries, and whose rivalry with Calakmul shaped the entire classic period. Located in northern Guatemala's rainforest, Tikal was continuously occupied from around 600 BCE until the collapse around 900 CE. But its peak power came during the classic period from 250 to 900 CE at its height. Tikal may have housed over 100,000 people in a metropolitan area covering over 60 square miles, making it one of the largest pre-Columbian cities. The site's monumental center features 6 massive pyramid temples, the tallest rising over 200 feet above the plaza floor, creating a skyline that dominated the surrounding jungle. Temple IV, completed around 741 CE, is the tallest pre-Columbian structure in the Americas, its roof cone reaching nearly 230 feet. From its summit, visitors today can see other temple tops emerging from the jungle canopy, just as ancient Maya priests would have viewed their sacred landscape. Tikal's power derived from multiple sources: control of agricultural hinterlands, access to trade routes connecting the Maya lowlands, military strength, and sophisticated political alliances. The city's emblem glyph, appearing on monuments throughout the Maya world, marked it as one of the great kingdoms. Tikal's dynasty claimed descent from the gods, and its rulers bore the title Holy Lord of Tikal, emphasizing their divine authority. The city's history is well documented through hieroglyphic inscriptions on stele altars and buildings. We know the names of over 30 rulers spanning 700 years, their genealogies, their wars, and their alliances. This remarkable historical record allows reconstruction of Tikal's political history in detail unmatched for most ancient civilizations. Tikal's great rival was Calakmul, another massive city located about 60 miles north. The conflict between these two superpowers, sometimes called the Tikal-Calakmul rivalry, dominated classic Maya politics. Smaller cities were forced to choose sides, creating two competing alliance networks that resembled the Cold War's bipolar world. In 562 CE, Tikal suffered a catastrophic defeat when forces from Calakmul conquered the city. For over a century, Tikal was subjugated, its monuments defaced, its prestige shattered. This hiatus in Tikal's monumental record shows a period of weakness and foreign control. But in 695 CE, a king named Jasau Chan Kayawil I defeated Calakmul and restored Tikal's independence. His victory initiated a renaissance, with massive construction projects including Temple I, which served as Jasau's tomb. The temple, with its distinctive roof cone, has become Tikal's most recognizable structure. Tikal's collapse around 900 CE was part of the broader Maya collapse affecting the southern lowlands. The last dated monument at Tikal is from 869 CE, suggesting the dynasty ended around that time. The city was gradually abandoned as populations moved away or died. When Spanish conquistadors arrived centuries later, Tikal was lost in the jungle, its temples covered by vegetation. Modern rediscovery began in the 1850s, and excavations have continued for over a century. Tikal is now Guatemala's most visited archaeological site and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Recent LiDAR surveys have revealed that Tikal was even larger than previously thought, with thousands of structures extending far beyond the site's core. The technology has shown interconnected causeways, defensive walls, and residential areas that demonstrate Tikal's true urban extent. Tikal represents Maya civilization at its peak: sophisticated urban planning, monumental architecture, complex political systems, far-reaching trade networks, and cultural achievements that rivaled any ancient civilization. Calakmul was Tikal's great rival, a superpower that may have been even larger and more powerful than its famous adversary. Located in southern Campeche, Mexico, near the Guatemala border, Calakmul is one of the largest Maya archaeological sites, covering over 70 square kilometers. The city's ancient name was Khan, Snake Kingdom, one of the most powerful Maya dynasties. Calakmul features over 6,000 structures, including 2 massive pyramids, the largest of which rises over 170 feet. Structure 2 is one of Mesoamerica's largest pyramids by volume and served as a royal funerary temple containing multiple elite burials with spectacular offerings. Unlike Tikal, which was rediscovered relatively early and has been extensively excavated, Calakmul remained largely unknown until the 20th century. The site is remote, deep in the jungle of the Calakmul Biosphere Reserve, one of the largest protected tropical forests in the Americas. This isolation has protected Calakmul from looting, but also limited archaeological investigation until recent decades. What excavations have revealed is astonishing. Calakmul was a massive urban center with a population possibly exceeding 50,000 and political influence. that extended across the Maya lowlands. The Khan dynasty formed a network of alliances that challenged Tikle's hegemony through warfare, diplomacy, and strategic marriages. Calakmul created what some archaeologists call the Khan hegemony, a political alliance system that dominated much of the Maya world during the 6th and 7th centuries CE. The rivalry with Tikle shaped both cities' histories. In 562 CE, Calakmul achieved its greatest victory, conquering Tikle and imposing a century of subjugation. This Star War, so named for the hieroglyphic symbol describing major conquests, marked Calakmul's apex. But in 695 CE, Tikle's king Jasal Chankayawil defeated Calakmul, capturing and sacrificing its ruler. This defeat marked the beginning of Calakmul's decline, though the city remained important for another century. Calakmul has yielded more steely than any other Maya site. Over 100 monuments carved with hieroglyphic texts and images of rulers. Their monuments provide detailed political history, recording wars, alliances, royal marriages, and ritual ceremonies. Calakmul's rulers styled themselves as overlords of other cities, and texts from sites throughout the region reference Calakmul's influence. The city also contained remarkable tombs. Multiple royal burials have been discovered within the pyramids, containing jade masks, ceramics, jewelry, and offerings demonstrating the wealth concentrated in this powerful capital. One particularly spectacular jade mosaic mask reconstructed from hundreds of pieces found in a royal tomb is now displayed in Campeche's Archaeology Museum. Like Tikle and other southern lowland cities, Calakmul collapsed around 900 CE. The last dated monument is from 909 CE, one of the latest in the central Maya lowlands. The reasons for collapse remain debated, but drought, deforestation, warfare, and political instability all likely contributed. Today, Calakmul is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognized both for its archaeological importance and its location in protected rainforest. The site's remoteness means it receives far fewer visitors than Tikle, creating an atmosphere of discovery as visitors encounter massive pyramids emerging from jungle that appears much as it did when the site was abandoned over 11 centuries ago. Karakul was another major power during the Classic period, famous for defeating Tikle in 562 CE and establishing itself as one of the era's dominant cities. Located in western Belize, Karakul covers about 70 square miles, making it one of the largest Maya sites. At its peak around 650 CE, the city may have housed over 100,000 people, larger than any contemporary European city. Karakul's strategic location gave it access to important resources and trade routes. The city's core contains massive plazas, pyramids, palaces, and residential areas showing clear urban planning. The site features an astronomical observatory and numerous reservoirs that provided water during dry seasons, demonstrating sophisticated engineering. Karakul's most spectacular structure is Kana, Sky Palace, a massive pyramid complex rising over 140 feet. This building served as both royal residence and temple, combining sacred and political functions in a single monument. From its summit, rulers could survey their domain while performing rituals that legitimized their authority. The city's greatest achievement was military victory over Tikle in 562 CE. Recorded in hieroglyphic texts at both sites, under the ruler Lord Water Karakul defeated Tikle, possibly killing or capturing its king. This victory propelled Karakul to superpower status and contributed to Tikle's century-long decline. Karakul then allied with Calakmul, joining the Khan hegemony and participating in the bipolar political system that characterized the late Classic period. Recent LiDAR surveys have revolutionized understanding of Karakul's extent, revealing extensive agricultural terraces, roads, and settlements extending far beyond the site's core. These discoveries show Karakul had sophisticated landscape management, modifying terrain to support its large population through intensive agriculture. Karakul's collapse around 900 CE followed the pattern of other southern lowland cities. Environmental degradation from intensive agriculture, drought, and political instability all contributed to the city's abandonment. The site remained lost in Belizean jungle until rediscovered in 1937. Excavations have continued for decades, revealing Karakul's importance in classic Maya politics and its sophisticated urban development. Palenque is renowned for having some of the finest Maya architecture and art ever created, a jewel of classic period civilization nestled in the foothills of Chiapas, Mexico. Unlike the flat terrain of Petan sites, Palenque is built on hillsides with natural springs and waterfalls, creating a dramatic setting enhanced by elegant buildings with delicate proportions and refined decoration. The city flourished during the late Classic period, reaching its peak in the 7th century CE under its most famous ruler, Kainich Janab Pakal, known simply as Pakal the Great. Pakal ruled for 68 years, from 615 to 683 CE, one of the longest reigns in ancient history. He transformed Palenque from a regional center into one of the Maya world's great powers through military conquests, architectural patronage, and diplomatic skill. His tomb, discovered in 1952 by Mexican archaeologist Alberto Ruiz Lulia inside the Temple of the Inscriptions, is one of archaeology's most spectacular finds. The burial chamber, reached by a hidden stairway inside the pyramid, contained Pakal's remains on a massive carved sarcophagus lid, depicting his descent into the underworld. The tomb was filled with jade jewelry, pottery, and offerings demonstrating royal wealth. The sarcophagus lid has sparked endless speculation, with some fringe theorists absurdly claiming it depicts an astronaut in a spacecraft, though serious scholarship recognizes it as mythological iconography showing Pakal's transformation into the maize god. Palenque's architecture is distinctive, featuring buildings with multiple doorways, interior galleries, mansard roofs, and delicate roof combs that create an effect of lightness and grace unmatched elsewhere in the Maya world. The palace complex, a massive multi-story structure with courtyards, galleries, and a 4-story tower, served as royal residence and administrative center. Its elaborate stucco sculptures, relief panels, and hieroglyphic texts provide detailed historical information. The Temple of the Inscriptions, Pakal's pyramid tomb, contains one of the longest Maya hieroglyphic texts, over 600 glyphs recording dynastic history and legitimizing Pakal's rule. The Temple of the Cross, Temple of the Foliated Cross, and Temple of the Sun, built by Pakal's son Kanechkin Bolam II, form a sacred complex with elaborate mythological texts linking the dynasty to the gods. Palenque's art is characterized by refined naturalism rare in Maya art. Stucco portraits of rulers and nobles show individual features, creating recognizable portraits rather than idealized types. The attention to detail in costume, jewelry, and regalia provides invaluable information about Maya elite culture. Palenque declined in the 9th century, with its last dated monument from 799 CE. The city was abandoned and swallowed by jungle. Spanish explorers reported ruins in the 16th century, but serious archaeological investigation didn't begin until the 19th century. Today, Palenque is Mexico's second most visited Maya site after Chichén Itzá and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Only a fraction of the city has been excavated, with much remaining under jungle vegetation. Copan was the Maya world's intellectual capital, famous for its hieroglyphic texts, astronomical observations, and artistic refinement. Located in western Honduras near the Guatemala border, Copan flourished from the 5th to 9th centuries CE, ruling over a territory that extended into neighboring regions. The city's importance derived not from military power like Tikal or Calakmul, but from cultural prestige and scientific achievement. Copan's hieroglyphic stairway is the longest Maya text ever created, containing over 2,500 glyphs carved on the risers of a monumental staircase leading to a pyramid temple. The text records the city's dynastic history, providing detailed information about rulers, wars, and political events spanning for centuries. Though damaged and partially collapsed before being recorded, the hieroglyphic stairway represents a monumental effort to preserve history in stone. The city's stelae are masterpieces of Maya sculpture. Copanese sculptors developed a distinctive three-dimensional style, carving portraits of rulers with depth and detail unusual in Maya art. The stelae show rulers in elaborate costume covered with hieroglyphic texts identifying them, recording their achievements, and linking them to ancestors and gods. Stela, erected in 730 CE, features cosmic symbolism and astronomical references demonstrating Copanese sophisticated understanding of celestial cycles. Copan was a center of astronomical observation and mathematical calculation. Archaeologists have identified buildings aligned to solar and stellar events, suggesting systematic skywatching and record-keeping. The Maya's complex calendar system, involving multiple interlocking cycles, was refined at Copan and other intellectual centers. The famous Copan dynasty was founded by Kanechkin, who established the royal line around 426 CE. His tomb, discovered beneath the Acropolis, contained spectacular jade offerings and evidence of warfare injuries, suggesting he was a warrior who seized power. His successors expanded Copanese territory and cultural prestige, with the dynasty lasting over 400 years. Copan's 16th ruler, Wasatla Juan Uba Kawil, also known as 18 Rabbit, was captured and beheaded in 738 CE by the ruler of Quirigua, a smaller city that had been Copan's vassal. This shocking event demonstrated that even powerful dynasties could fall to upstart rivals. Copan recovered but never regained its former glory. The city collapsed around 822 CE, earlier than many Maya cities. Overpopulation, environmental degradation from deforestation, and political instability all contributed. The Copan Valley's population may have exceeded 25,000 at its peak, straining agricultural resources. Copan's ruins were reported by Spanish conquistadors, but the site wasn't scientifically studied until the 19th century. Excavations have revealed elaborate buildings, tunnels built into earlier construction phases, and tombs containing rich offerings. The site is now Honduras's most important archaeological zone and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Quirigua was a small city that achieved lasting fame by defeating and killing Copanese king, one of ancient Maya history's greatest upsets. Located in eastern Guatemala, Quirigua was founded as a vassal of Copan in the 5th century CE. For 2 centuries it remained subordinate, paying tribute and acknowledging Copan's overlordship. But in 738 CE, Quirigua's ruler Kectili Chan Yopot captured Copan's king 18 Rabbit and beheaded him, recorded in hieroglyphic texts at both cities. This stunning victory elevated Quirigua from vassal to independent power. Cake Tili Chanyopot celebrated his triumph by erecting massive monuments, including the tallest stele ever carved by the Maya. Stele E stands over 35 feet tall and weighs over 65 tons. A monolithic sandstone monument carved with the king's portrait and hieroglyphic texts celebrating his victories and divine connections. Quirigua's sculptors developed distinctive styles, creating zoomorphic sculptures combining animal and human features with hieroglyphic texts. These unique monuments demonstrate artistic innovation and the city's newfound confidence. Quirigua's prosperity was based on control of jade sources and trade routes along the Motagua River Valley. The defeat of Copan may have been motivated by trade competition and desire to control valuable resources. After Cake Tili Chanyopot's death around 785 CE, Quirigua declined. The city was abandoned around 900 CE like other southern lowland sites. Quirigua's ruins were studied in the 19th century, with many monuments removed to museums before archaeological ethics developed. The site is now protected as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, with its monumental stele standing as testament to the ambitions of a small kingdom that struck down a giant. Yaxchilan sits dramatically on a bend of the Usumacinta River, which forms the border between Mexico and Guatemala. The city flourished during the late Classic period, reaching its peak in the 8th century CE under rulers like Shield Jaguar and his son. Bird Jaguar for Yaxchilan is famous for its exquisite stone lintels carved with scenes of royal ritual, warfare, and bloodletting ceremonies. These lintels, positioned above doorways in temples and palaces, depict rulers with their wives performing rituals including drawing blood from tongues and genitals as offerings to gods. The scenes provide intimate details of Maya royal life and religious practice, showing that queens played important roles in legitimizing dynastic power through their participation in rituals. Shield Jaguar ruled for over 60 years in the late 7th and early 8th centuries, waging wars, conducting rituals, and building monuments celebrating his achievements. His principal wife, Lady Kayabalzuk, appears on multiple monuments participating in bloodletting rituals and receiving visions of supernatural beings. After Shield Jaguar's death, succession was disputed. Bird Jaguar IV, his son by a different wife, spent years securing the throne before being crowned in 752 CE. Once in power, Bird Jaguar commissioned an ambitious building program, creating many of Yaxchilan's most impressive structures and sculptures. His monuments emphasized legitimacy, showing his mother's high status and his father's designation of him as heir. Yaxchilan's architecture takes advantage of its dramatic riverside setting, with buildings on terraces climbing the hillside and commanding views of the river. The city controlled river trade and waged wars against neighboring Pedras, Negras, and other rivals. Yaxchilan declined in the 9th century. With its last dated monument from 808 CE, the site remained lost in the jungle until 19th century exploration. Its remote location protected many sculptures, though some lintels were removed to museums. Today, Yaxchilan is accessible only by boat, creating an adventurous journey for visitors who are rewarded with well-preserved ruins in a spectacular natural setting. Pedras Negras was a powerful military center on the Usumacinta River in Guatemala, rival to neighboring Yaxchilan, an important player in Western Maya politics. The city flourished from the late pre-Classic through the Classic period, reaching its peak in the 7th and 8th century CE. Pedras Negras is famous for its stele depicting rulers in elaborate costume, particularly the series showing kings seated on thrones during period-ending ceremonies. These monuments established iconographic patterns that influenced Maya royal portraiture throughout the region. The city's hieroglyphic texts provide detailed dynastic history. Pedras Negras rulers waged constant warfare with Yaxchilan across the river, with both cities vying for control of trade routes and tribute from smaller settlements. Captives taken in these wars appear on monuments, kneeling in submission before victorious rulers. The site features massive pyramids, palaces with elaborate interior decoration, and sweat baths used in purification rituals. The architectural complex called the Acropolis contains multiple palaces built over centuries, with elaborate hieroglyphic stairways and throne rooms where rulers conducted audiences. Pedras Negras declined in the 9th century. With its last dated monument from 810 CE, the site was abandoned and lost in jungle until rediscovered in the 19th century. Its remote location protected it from extensive looting, and many sculptures remained in place until archaeological work began. Excavations have revealed royal tombs with spectacular offerings, residential areas showing social stratification, and defensive features suggesting warfare was a constant concern. Bonampak is a small site that achieved immortality through the most spectacular Maya murals ever discovered. Vivid paintings that revolutionized understanding of Maya warfare, ceremony, and court life. Located in Chiapas, Mexico, near Yaxchilan, Bonampak was a secondary center subordinate to more powerful neighbors. In 1946, American photographer Giles Healy was led to the site by Lacandan Maya and became the first outsider to see the mural's inside structure 1, now called the Temple of the Murals. The building contains 3 rooms, each covered with elaborate paintings depicting events from 790 to 792 CE during the reign of Yaxan Balum, Bonampak's last known ruler. Room 1 shows the presentation of an heir to the dynasty, with nobles and musicians gathering for the ceremony. The detail is extraordinary, showing costumes, jewelry, musical instruments, and even the facial features of individual participants. Room 2 depicts warfare with shocking brutality. Maya warriors in elaborate costume attack enemies, capture prisoners, and present captives to the ruler. One scene shows prisoners being tortured, with fingers being torn off and blood flowing. Other scenes show yaks and bolam in battle gear trampling enemies. These murals shattered earlier romantic views of the Maya as peaceful astronomers and proved warfare was central to Maya political systems. Room 3 shows the aftermath of victory, with royal family members performing bloodletting rituals and celebrating triumph. Musicians, dancers, and nobles participate in elaborate ceremonies on a pyramid. The artistic quality is remarkable, with sophisticated perspective, naturalistic human figures, and vibrant colors. The murals were painted using techniques that preserved color for over 12 centuries, though exposure after discovery caused some deterioration before conservation efforts began. Bonampac's murals provide unprecedented detail about Maya elite life, warfare, ceremony, and art. They show what Maya warfare looked like, how captives were treated, what costumes and weapons were used, and how victory was celebrated. They're among the most important documents for understanding classic Maya civilization. The site itself is small, suggesting Bonampac's importance was as a subordinate center to Yaxchilan. The murals may have been commissioned to celebrate military alliance or subordination to a more powerful neighbor. Bonampak was abandoned around 800 CE, possibly related to the conflicts depicted in the murals or to the broader instability affecting the region. Today, visitors can see reproductions of the murals, while the originals are protected from environmental damage. The site is a UNESCO World Heritage Site within the Lakandan jungle. Uzmal is the finest example of Puk architectural style, characterized by elaborate stone mosaics, geometric patterns, and refined proportions that make it one of the Maya world's most beautiful cities. Located in Yucatan, Mexico, Uzmal flourished during the Terminal Classic period, around 700 to 1000 CE, when most southern lowland cities were collapsing. The northern lowlands, with different environmental conditions and political systems, continued thriving while the south fell into crisis. Uzmal's architecture is distinctive, featuring buildings covered with thousands of individually carved stones fitted together to create elaborate mosaic facades. The Pyramid of the Magician, so named by Spanish chroniclers who recorded local legends about its construction, rises over 100 feet in an unusual elliptical shape. The pyramid was built in 5 phases, with each successive ruler adding a new temple layer. The governor's palace is considered the masterpiece of Puk architecture, a massive building over 300 feet long with a facade featuring over 20,000 individually carved stones creating geometric patterns. Masks of the rain, god chalk, and serpent motifs. The building's proportions and decoration demonstrate mathematical precision and aesthetic sophistication. The nunnery quadrangle, misnamed by Spanish friars who thought it resembled a convent, is actually a palace complex with 4 buildings surrounding a courtyard. Each building features different decorative programs with masks, serpents, lattice patterns, and hieroglyphic texts, creating one of the Maya world's most elaborate architectural compositions. Uzmal's rulers left fewer hieroglyphic inscriptions than cities like Tikal or Kopan, making its political history less certain. The site appears to have been allied with nearby Basael and Labna in a regional network, possibly under Uzmal's hegemony. The city prospered through control of agricultural lands and trade routes. Unlike southern cities dependent on rainfall captured in reservoirs, Uzmal's survival depended on chulchans, underground cisterns carved into limestone bedrock. Water management was crucial in the Yucatan, where there are no surface rivers. Uzmal declined around 1000 CE, possibly due to drought, political instability, or the rise of Chichen Itza as the dominant northern power. The site was never completely abandoned, remaining sacred to Maya peoples. Spanish conquistadors reported ruins, and local Maya continued making pilgrimages there. Uzmal was studied in the 19th century by explorers like John Lloyd Stephens and Frederick Catherwood, whose illustrations popularized Maya archaeology. Today, Uzmal is one of Mexico's most visited archaeological sites and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Conservation efforts have restored many buildings, and sound and light shows dramatize the city's history for tourists. Chichen Itza became the most powerful city in the northern Maya lowlands during the Terminal Classic and Post-Classic periods, around 800 to 1200 CE, developing into a major political, economic, and religious center that dominated Yucatan. The city's architecture combines traditional Maya styles with influences from central Mexico, reflecting contacts with Toltec and other cultures from the Valley of Mexico. Whether this represents conquest by foreigners, Maya adoption of foreign styles, or movement of Maya groups who had lived in central Mexico remains debated. The most iconic structure is the Pyramid of Kukulkan, also called El Castillo, a 9-tiered pyramid with 4 stairways, each with 91 steps. Including the temple platform, there are 365 steps total, corresponding to the solar year. During spring and autumn equinoxes, sunlight creates the illusion of a serpent descending the pyramid's side, demonstrating astronomical precision in architectural design. The Temple of Warriors features hundreds of columns carved as warriors, creating a columned hall fronting a pyramid. The site contains 2 ball courts, including the largest in Mesoamerica, over 500 feet long with walls 26 feet high. Relief panels show ball game scenes and what appears to be ritual sacrifice of ball players, though interpretations vary. The sacred cenote, a natural sinkhole about 200 feet in diameter, was used for sacrifice and offerings. Dredging in the early 20th century recovered gold, jade pottery, and human remains thrown into the water as offerings to the rain god Chok. These offerings included objects from throughout Mesoamerica, demonstrating Chichen Itza's far-reaching trade networks. Chichen Itza's power derived from multiple sources: control of salt production on the coast, domination of trade routes, religious prestige as a pilgrimage center, and military strength. The city appears to have used different organizational structures than classic period cities, possibly with collective rule by powerful families rather than divine kingship. Chichen Itza declined around 1200 CE, possibly due to warfare with the rival city of Mayan. The city remained sacred and was visited by pilgrims for centuries. Spanish conquistadors reported Maya ceremonies there, and the site never entirely lost its religious significance. Modern archaeological investigation began in the 19th century, and restoration has continued for over a century. Chichen Itza is now Mexico's most visited archaeological site and one of the new 7 wonders of the world. Recent LiDAR surveys have revealed extensive structures beyond the site's core, suggesting Chichen Itza was even larger than previously recognized. Ceibal has the distinction of being one of the few southern lowland cities that survived the classic collapse and continued flourishing into the post-classic period, making it crucial for understanding how some Maya communities adapted while others failed. Located on the Payan River in Guatemala's Petén region, Ceibal was occupied from around 900 BCE to 950 CE, spanning nearly the entire history of Maya civilization. During the pre-classic period, Ceibal was a significant center with monumental architecture rivaling contemporary sites. The city declined during the early classic but experienced a dramatic revival in the late classic period under foreign influence. Around 830 CE, Ceibal was conquered or heavily influenced by groups from the Gulf Coast or central Mexico, evidenced by architectural styles, pottery, and hieroglyphic texts showing foreign names and titles. This foreign element didn't destroy Ceibal but revitalized it. While other Piton cities were collapsing, Ceibal thrived, erecting monuments and constructing buildings until around 950 CE, making it one of the last active cities in the region. Ceibal's ability to survive suggests flexibility and adaptation that other cities lacked. The site features a large plaza surrounded by pyramid temples, stele depicting rulers in distinctive styles, mixing Maya and foreign elements, and evidence of continued occupation when neighboring cities were abandoned. Archaeological investigation has provided insights into the terminal classic period and the factors that allowed some communities to survive the collapse. Recent excavations using modern techniques have revealed that Ceibal's population actually grew during the period when other cities were depopulating, suggesting refugees may have migrated there. The site's eventual abandonment around 950 CE marked the final end of classic Maya civilization in the central Petén. Jabanch was an important early classic city in southern Quintana Roo, Mexico, capital of the Con dynasty before they moved to Calakmul. The city flourished from around 300 to 600 CE and features massive pyramids, elaborate tombs, and hieroglyphic texts providing insights into early classic politics. Jabanch's largest pyramid structure, 6, contains royal tombs with offerings including jade masks, ceramics, and hieroglyphic texts. The site's monuments record the Con dynasty's early history, showing that this powerful lineage had deep roots in the region before establishing the Snake Kingdom at Cal. Jabanch's architecture shows connections to Piton styles, suggesting political and cultural links across the southern lowlands. The city appears to have been abandoned or declined when the Con dynasty relocated to Calakmul, possibly due to environmental factors or strategic considerations that made Calakmul a better capital. Archaeological investigation at Jabanch has been ongoing since the 1990s, revealing the site's importance in understanding early classic period politics and the origins of the powerful Con dynasty. El Perhuaca was strategically located on the San Pedro Martir River in northern Guatemala, making it crucial for trade and warfare during the classic period. The city's importance derived from its position controlling river transportation. Between the Petén heartland and the Usumacinta region, El Perhuaca was caught between the rival superpowers Tikal and Calakmul, with its political alignments shifting based on which power dominated the region. The site features pyramid temples, palaces, and elite residential areas, with hieroglyphic texts recording complex political history involving alliances, royal marriages, and warfare. One particularly interesting aspect is evidence of powerful queens. A spectacular royal tomb discovered in recent excavations contained a woman buried with offerings including jade jewelry, ceramics, and a stone mask, suggesting she held significant political power. Hieroglyphic texts mention royal women from El Perhuaca marrying into other dynasties, suggesting strategic marriage alliances were important to the city's diplomacy. The site also provides evidence of warfare's centrality to Maya politics. Depictions of warriors, captives, and battle scenes appear on monuments and in tombs. Fortification walls and defensive features suggest the city faced constant military threats. El Perbuaca was abandoned around 900 CE like most Piton sites. Modern excavations beginning in the 1960s have revealed rich burials, elaborate architecture, and important hieroglyphic texts contributing to understanding classic period politics. Alto de Sacrificios sits at the strategic confluence of the Payson and Chicxoy rivers in Guatemala, a location that made it important for trade and communication throughout the classic period. The site's name, given by Spanish explorers who found carved altars there, reflects European interpretations rather than ancient reality. Alto de Sacrificios was occupied from the pre-classic through post-classic periods, showing continuity rare in the region. The city's importance derived from controlling river trade routes connecting highland Guatemala with the lowlands. Goods from both regions passed through Alto de Sacrificios, enriching the city through trade, taxes, and commerce. The site features pyramids, plazas, and residential areas showing occupation by elites who controlled trade. Ball courts indicate the city's integration into broader Maya cultural patterns. Hieroglyphic monuments record political relationships with major powers including Tikal, suggesting Alto de Sacrificios maintained diplomatic ties with larger neighbors while exploiting its strategic position. Like Cebu, Alto de Sacrificios showed evidence of foreign influence during the Terminal Classic, with non-Maya elements appearing in pottery and possibly architecture. This suggests the city adapted to changing circumstances by incorporating new populations or adopting foreign cultural elements. The site was excavated in the 1960s by the Peabody Museum, providing important data on ceramics, burials, and settlement patterns that have been used to understand classic Maya society. Yaxa was strategically located between Tikal and Caracol in northeastern Guatemala, making it important in the political competition between these rival powers. The city was occupied from the pre-classic through post-classic periods, reaching its peak during the late classic. Yaxa features over 500 structures including pyramid temples, palaces, ball courts, and a complex of twin pyramid complexes similar to those at Tikal. The site's name means green water in Mayan, referring to the nearby lake that provided water and fish. Yaxa's political alignments appear to have shifted between Tikal and Caracol depending on which power dominated the region. Hieroglyphic texts mention connections to both cities, suggesting Yaxa played the diplomatic game carefully to maintain independence while acknowledging more powerful neighbors. The site's architecture shows Tikal influence, particularly in the design of pyramid temples and the use of twin pyramid complexes for period-ending ceremonies. Recent restoration has made Yaxa one of the more visually impressive sites in Guatemala. The pyramid temples have been cleared of vegetation and partially restored, creating dramatic views across the surrounding jungle and lake. Yaxa was used as a filming location for the reality TV show Survivor, bringing international attention to the site. The city declined around 900 CE like most southern lowland sites. Its location between collapsing superpowers may have made it vulnerable to disruptions in trade and political instability. Machacuela was a secondary center in the Piton region of Guatemala that provides insights into smaller Maya cities and their relationships with larger powers. Located southeast of the major centers, Machacuela flourished during the late classic period, reaching its peak in the 8th century CE. The site features stele depicting rulers in elaborate costume and hieroglyphic texts recording political events. Machacuela's monuments show artistic quality comparable to larger cities, demonstrating that even secondary centers commanded skilled artisans and resources for monumental art. The city's hieroglyphic texts mention relationships with major powers, suggesting Machacuela maintained diplomatic ties and possibly tributary relationships with larger neighbors. The site's relative isolation and dense jungle has protected it from extensive looting, with many monuments remaining in place. Archaeological investigation has been limited due to the remote location, but surveys have documented the site's extent and recovered information about its ceramics, architecture, and settlement patterns. Machacuela was abandoned around 900 CE during the classic collapse. Its study contributes to understanding the full range of Maya political organization, from massive capitals to smaller regional centers. Conquin was unusual among Maya cities for its focus on trade and palatial architecture rather than massive temple pyramids. Located on the Payson River in Guatemala's Alta Verapaz region, Conquin flourished during the late classic, particularly the 8th century CE. The city's location at the head of navigation on the Payson River made it the transshipment point where goods from the highlands were transferred. Two canoes for transport downstream to cities like Alto de Sacrificios and Cebu. Conquin controlled trade in jade, obsidian, pyrite, and other highland resources essential to lowland cities. This commercial role made the city wealthy, reflected in its massive palace, one of the largest in the Maya world, covering over 23,000 square meters with over 170 rooms and 11 courtyards. The palace's size and elaboration demonstrate the wealth concentrated in Conquin's ruling dynasty through control of trade. Unlike most Maya cities dominated by pyramid temples, Conquin's civic center is dominated by the palace. suggesting different priorities focused on administration and commerce rather than monumental religious architecture. The site does have pyramids and temples, but they're smaller and less prominent than the palace. Recent excavations have revealed spectacular discoveries, including royal tombs with jade offerings and hieroglyphic texts. One particularly gruesome find was a mass burial of approximately 30 individuals who appeared to have been members of the royal family and court, killed simultaneously, possibly during a conquest or coup around 800 CE. The circumstances of this massacre remain mysterious, but it may relate to the terminal classic instability affecting the region. Conquen's hieroglyphic texts record complex political relationships, including royal marriages connecting the dynasty to Calakmul and other major powers. The city appears to have navigated between competing powers through diplomacy and trade relationships. The site was abandoned shortly after 800 CE, possibly following the massacre that wiped out its ruling dynasty. Conquen's study has provided important insights into Maya trade, palatial architecture, and the complex economics underlying classic period politics. Dos Pilas was a city whose political ambitions and warfare contributed to the instability that helped trigger the classic collapse. Founded in the 7th century CE as a Tikal outpost, Dos Pilas later switched allegiance to Calakmul and became a major military power in its own right. Located in the Petexpatan region of Guatemala, Dos Pilas rulers waged aggressive wars against neighboring cities, creating a regional network under their dominance. The city's hieroglyphic texts are among the most detailed historical records in the Maya world, recording wars, conquests, and political alliances in unprecedented detail. The texts show that Dos Pilas rulers deliberately provoked conflicts to expand their power and extract tribute from conquered cities. This aggressive expansionism created a militarized society where warfare became central to political economy. Archaeological evidence shows Dos Pilas fortified itself with defensive walls built from dismantled earlier monuments, suggesting the city faced counterattacks from enemies it had made through constant warfare. The defensive walls incorporated carved stele and hieroglyphic texts taken from earlier buildings, showing the desperation of the city's final years. Around 761 CE, Dos Pilas was conquered and burned, its ruling dynasty overthrown. The population fragmented, with some moving to nearby defensive sites. The city's collapse was part of the Petexpatan regional collapse, where a network of allied and subordinate cities fell into warfare and depopulation during the 8th century. Dos Pilas represents the negative aspects of classic Maya politics: constant warfare, instability, and political fragmentation that undermined the system supporting large populations. The site's study has been crucial for understanding how political competition and warfare contributed to the broader classic collapse. Aguateca was closely related to Dos Pilas, serving as a defensive stronghold when Dos Pilas fell. Built on a dramatic escarpment protected by a natural chasm, Aguateca was fortified with walls and defensive features. When Dos Pilas was conquered around 761 CE, its surviving elite relocated to Aguateca, which became their last stronghold. Archaeological excavations at Aguateca have produced exceptional preservation of artifacts from daily life. Because the city was attacked and burned, with residents fleeing so quickly they left possessions in place, excavations have recovered tools, pottery, jewelry, and household items exactly where they were dropped, providing a snapshot of Maya daily life unprecedented in its detail. The finds include scribal tools and pigments, showing that elite households included individuals engaged in writing and painting. Stone tools, pottery-making equipment, and food remains reveal details of craft production and diet. Musical instruments, gaming pieces, and personal ornaments show leisure activities. Aguateca's hieroglyphic texts continue the historical records from Dos Pilas, documenting the dynasty's struggles and final defeat. The last dated monument is from 790 CE, shortly before the city was conquered and burned. The destruction left evidence of intense combat, with burned buildings, scattered artifacts, and defensive features overwhelmed by attackers. Aguateca was never reoccupied after its destruction, preserving the archaeological context for modern study. The site has become a model for understanding Maya household archaeology and daily life because of the exceptional preservation. Aguateca's fate illustrates the violence of the terminal classic period and the personal tragedies behind the archaeological record of collapse. Naranjo was a major power in the northeastern Petén region of Guatemala, ally of Calakmul and rival to Tikal and its allies. The city flourished during the late classic period, reaching its peak in the 7th and 8th centuries CE. Naranjo's history is well documented through hieroglyphic texts that record a remarkable story of foreign conquest and dynastic renewal. In 682 CE, Naranjo was conquered by Calakmul, and a princess from Dos Pilas was sent to marry Naranjo's young king, apparently to ensure the city's loyalty to the Calakmul alliance system. This princess, known as Lady Six Sky, became one of the most powerful Maya queens. Hieroglyphic texts suggest she served as regent for her young son and may have ruled in her own right. Monuments depict her in warrior costume trampling captives, unprecedented iconography showing a woman in a role typically reserved for male rulers. Under Lady Six Sky's leadership, Naranjo revived and waged successful wars against Tikal and its allies. The city erected monuments celebrating military victories and proclaiming Naranjo's restoration to power. This militaristic revival made Naranjo a major player in late classic politics. Naranjo's architecture includes pyramid temples, palaces, and hieroglyphic stairways, with texts recording dynastic history and military achievements. The site's remote location has protected many monuments from looting, with carved stele still standing where they were erected over a millennium ago. The city was abandoned around 900 CE during the classic collapse. Recent archaeological investigation has revealed details of Naranjo's urban layout, defensive features, and evidence of the warfare that characterized its history. La Corona played a crucial role in classic Maya politics despite being a relatively small city, serving as a strategic link connecting different regions and dynasties through royal marriages and alliances. Located in northwestern Guatemala near the Mexican border, La Corona flourished during the late classic period and was closely allied with Calakmul, serving the Snake Kingdom's interests in the western lowlands. The city's strategic location made it valuable for controlling communication and trade routes between different regions. Recent excavations have revealed spectacular discoveries including royal tombs with jade masks, hieroglyphic texts recording political alliances, and evidence of connections to multiple major powers. What makes La Corona particularly interesting is evidence of royal women from major cities marrying into La Corona's dynasty, apparently to cement political alliances. Hieroglyphic texts record these strategic marriages and their political implications. One recently discovered tomb contained a royal woman who may have come from Calakmul, buried with offerings befitting a queen and with hieroglyphic texts identifying her origins. La Corona's monuments emphasize the city's role in alliance networks and its rulers' connections to more powerful neighbors. The site's relatively modest size compared to powers like Calakmul suggests its importance derived from diplomatic skill and strategic position rather than military might or population. The city was abandoned around 900 CE during the classic collapse. La Corona's excavation has been ongoing since 2005, with new discoveries regularly emerging that shed light on classic period diplomacy and the complex web of alliances connecting Maya cities. Homel experienced a remarkable renaissance in archaeological study beginning in the 21st century, with spectacular discoveries revealing its importance in classic Maya history. Located in northeastern Guatemala, Homel was occupied from the pre-classic through classic periods, reaching its peak during the late classic. In 2013, archaeologists discovered a massive frieze buried within a pyramid, depicting rulers and hieroglyphic texts in spectacular preservation. The frieze, over 26 feet long and 8 feet high, shows 5 richly costumed figures emerging from the mouths of supernatural beings, surrounded by elaborate hieroglyphic texts. The artistic quality is extraordinary, with vivid colors and fine details preserved by being buried and protected from weather. The hieroglyphic texts identify the figures as rulers of Homel and mention relationships with larger powers, including possibly Tikal and Naranjo. The discovery revolutionized understanding of Homel's importance and provided insights into classic period artistic styles and political iconography. Other recent discoveries at Homel include royal tombs with jade masks and offerings, massive palace complexes, and evidence of sophisticated urban planning. LiDAR surveys have revealed that Homel was much larger than surface remains suggested, with extensive suburbs and agricultural features. Homel's hieroglyphic texts record political relationships and conflicts, suggesting the city navigated between competing powers during the turbulent late classic period. The city's eventual abandonment around 900 CE followed the pattern of other southern lowland cities. Ongoing excavations continue revealing new information about this surprisingly important city whose significance was underestimated until recent discoveries. Elzats was strategically positioned just 16 miles west of Tikal, making it crucial in Tikal's political and economic network. Recent excavations have revealed that Elzats was closely connected to Tikal's ruling dynasty through political alliances and possibly subordination. Located in Guatemala's Petén region, Elzats features pyramid temples, palaces, and elite residential areas showing occupation during the late pre-classic and classic periods. The site's proximity to Tikal meant its political fate was tied to that powerful neighbor. When Tikal was strong, Elzats prospered as an ally or satellite. When Tikal faced defeats, Elzats likely suffered as well. Recent excavations have uncovered spectacular royal tombs including the Devil's Pyramid burial, where a king was interred around 400 CE with elaborate offerings including carved jade, ceramics and textiles preserved by being covered with cinnabar. The tomb provides insights into early classic royal burial practices and the wealth available to even secondary centers in Tikal's network. Elzats's hieroglyphic texts mention connections to Tikal's dynasty, suggesting close political ties. The site may have served as a western outpost controlling routes and resources important to Tikal's power. Elzats was abandoned during the classic collapse when Tikal and its network fragmented. The site remained unknown to archaeology until the 1970s, and serious excavation only began in the 21st century. Its proximity to Tikal has made it attractive for study as part of understanding that great city's regional network. Zunantunich sits dramatically on a ridge above the Mopan River in western Belize, featuring massive pyramid temples and elaborate stucco friezes that make it one of Belize's most impressive Maya sites. The city flourished during the late Classic period, particularly the 7th and 8th century CE, though evidence suggests earlier occupation. Zunantunich's most impressive structure is El Castillo, a pyramid temple rising over 130 feet, the second tallest structure in Belize. The pyramid features elaborate stucco friezes on its eastern and western sides depicting astronomical and cosmological symbolism. The friezes show human figures, gods, and abstract designs representing the Maya cosmos, though weathering has damaged much of the original detail. The site's architecture shows connections to nearby Guatemala centers while maintaining distinctive local styles. Ball courts, palaces, plazas, and residential areas demonstrate sophisticated urban planning. Hieroglyphic texts are limited compared to major centers, making Zunantunich's political history less certain, but the site's size and architecture suggests it was an important regional power. Recent excavations have revealed that El Castillo was built atop earlier structures, with construction occurring in multiple phases. Excavations inside the pyramid have accessed earlier buildings and discovered offerings and burials showing continuity of elite occupation. One puzzling aspect is evidence that Zunantunich experienced a major earthquake around 800 CE that damaged buildings, possibly contributing to the site's abandonment around 900 CE. Whether the earthquake caused immediate abandonment or simply accelerated processes already underway remains debated. Zunantunich is easily accessible to visitors, reached by hand-cranked ferry across the Mopan River and short drive to the site. Its spectacular setting and well-preserved architecture make it popular with tourists. The panoramic views from El Castillo's summit, overlooking the surrounding jungle and river valley, are among the most spectacular in the Maya world. Recent excavations continue revealing information about the site's history and connections to neighboring centers in both Belize and Guatemala. Mayapan was the last great Maya capital to unify significant territory under a single political system, Ruling the northern Yucatan from around 1200 to 1450 CE. During the post-Classic period, after Chichen Itza's decline, Mayapan emerged as the dominant power, creating a confederacy that controlled much of the peninsula. The city covered over 4 square kilometers within massive defensive walls enclosing over 4,000 structures, suggesting a population of 12 to 15,000. Unlike earlier cities spread across large areas, Mayapan was densely packed within fortifications, reflecting the increased warfare and insecurity of the post-Classic period. The city's architecture shows decline from Classic period quality, with buildings using rougher construction techniques and less elaborate decoration, though some structures still feature columns, colonnades, and painted murals. The Temple of Kukulkan at Mayapan was modeled on Chichen Itza's pyramid, but built at smaller scale and with cruder technique, showing both continuity with earlier traditions and decline in execution. Mayapan's political organization appears to have been a confederacy of powerful families rather than the divine kingship of classic cities. The ruling Kokam family held paramount authority but shared power with other elite lineages, including the Zhou family. This system maintained unity for over 2 centuries until internal conflicts destroyed it. Around 1441 to 1461 CE, the Zhou family led a revolt against the Kokam rulers, destroying Mayapan and killing most of the Kokam lineage. This political collapse fragmented the northern lowlands into competing provinces that were still fighting when Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 1520s. Spanish chronicles record that Mayapan's destruction was remembered as the end of unified Maya rule in Yucatan, after which the region dissolved into constant warfare between rival provinces. Mayapan was extensively excavated in the 1950s and again in recent decades, revealing details of post-classic Maya urban life, economy, and society. The site shows continued trade networks extending throughout Mesoamerica, with artifacts from central Mexico, the Gulf Coast, and Central America. Mayapan's study provides crucial information about Maya civilization's final phase before Spanish conquest and demonstrates that Maya culture remained sophisticated and complex even after the Classic collapse. Tulum is spectacularly situated on cliffs overlooking the Caribbean Sea, a fortified port city that flourished during the post-Classic period and was still occupied when Spanish ships first sailed past in the early 16th century. Located on Mexico's Caribbean coast in Quintana Roo, Tulum served as a major port and trading center, facilitating canoe trade along the coast and connecting interior cities with maritime commerce. The city's defensive walls, watchtowers, and clifftop position demonstrate the military concerns of the post-Classic period. Tulum's architecture is notably smaller and cruder than Classic period cities, but the site's dramatic setting and preservation make it one of the most visited Maya ruins. The Temple of the Frescoes contains murals showing gods and astronomical symbolism, painted in a style distinct from Classic period art. The Castillo, the largest structure, sits on the cliff edge where it served as a lighthouse with fires visible to canoes navigating the reef-protected coast. Tulum's economy was based on trade, particularly in salt, honey, cacao, obsidian, and other goods moved along coastal routes. The city was part of a network of coastal trading posts that facilitated commerce throughout the Maya world and beyond. When Spanish explorers first saw Tulum in 1518, they reported it as a city as large as Seville with towers and buildings visible from the sea. This was probably exaggeration, but Tulum was clearly prosperous and active. The site remained inhabited well into the Spanish colonial period, finally being abandoned in the 16th century as Spanish control disrupted traditional trade networks and introduced European diseases. Today, Tulum is Mexico's third most visited archaeological site, attracting millions of tourists who come for both ancient ruins and adjacent beaches. The site's preservation owes much to its late occupation and relatively isolated location until recent decades. Conservation efforts face challenges from mass tourism, environmental damage, and development pressure on surrounding areas. Oxbenca was a significant center in southern Belize during the late and terminal classic periods, demonstrating that Maya civilization in Belize remained vibrant when many Petén sites were collapsing. Located in the Toledo district, Uxbenca features pyramid temples, ball courts, and residential areas showing occupation from around 200 BCE to 900 CE. Recent excavations have revealed spectacular tombs with jade ornaments, ceramics, and offerings, suggesting the city's rulers commanded significant wealth. Uxbenca's architecture shows connections to both lowland and highland Maya styles, reflecting its position at the junction of different cultural zones. The site's hieroglyphic texts are limited, making political history difficult to reconstruct, but architectural and artifactual evidence suggests the city participated in regional trade networks and maintained alliances with nearby centers. Uxbenca's collapse around 900 CE followed the broader southern lowland pattern, with the city being abandoned and swallowed by jungle. Archaeological investigation began in the 1990s and continues revealing information about Maya culture in this less studied region of Belize. Limoni has the distinction of being continuously occupied for over 3,000 years, from around 1500 BCE until the 17th century CE. Making it one of the longest occupied Maya sites and demonstrating remarkable continuity and adaptation through multiple periods of Maya history. Located in northern Belize on the New River Lagoon, Limona's name means submerged crocodile in Yucatec Maya, and crocodile imagery appears frequently in the site's art and iconography. Limoni flourished during the pre-classic period with massive temple construction, including the High Temple, which rises over 100 feet and was one of the largest structures in the Maya world when built around 100 BC. The city continued developing through the Classic period, maintaining importance when many sites collapsed. During the post-Classic, Limoni remained active when most southern lowland cities were abandoned, suggesting the site's location on the lagoon provided advantages that allowed continued prosperity. When Spanish conquistadors and missionaries arrived in the 16th century, Limoni was still a thriving Maya community. The Spanish built 2 churches at the site, attempting to convert the Maya population to Christianity. But in 1640 and again in 1650, the Maya rebelled, destroying the churches and driving out the Spanish. These rebellions demonstrated continued Maya resistance to Spanish colonization. The site was finally abandoned in the 17th century as Spanish control gradually extended into the region and the remaining Maya population dispersed or died from introduced diseases. Limoni's remarkable longevity suggests its location provided advantages including access to river trade, agricultural resources, and defensibility. The site's continued occupation through periods when other cities failed demonstrates Maya adaptability and resilience. Extensive excavations have revealed architecture and artifacts spanning 3 millennia, providing unique insights into continuity and change in Maya civilization. Limoni is now one of Belize's most important archaeological sites, accessible by boat tours up the New River that recreate ancient Maya travel routes. Coba controlled an extensive network of sakbib, raised stone causeways connecting it to numerous smaller sites and facilitating communication, trade, and military control across a large territory in northeastern Quintana Roo, Mexico. The city flourished during the late Classic period, reaching its peak between 600 and 900 CE when it may have housed 50,000 people, making it one of the largest Maya cities in the northern lowlands. Coba's most famous feature is its sakab network, with at least 50 roads radiating from the city. The longest extends over 60 miles to Yaxuna near Chichen Itza, representing an engineering achievement requiring massive labor investment. The roads, raised above ground level and paved with white stone, allowed rapid movement of goods, people, and armies across the flat terrain. Coba's architecture includes pyramid temples, one of which Nohakmul rises 138 feet, the tallest pyramid in the northern Yucatan. Ball courts, steely carved with rulers and hieroglyphic texts, and elaborate residential areas demonstrate the city's power and wealth. Coba's hieroglyphic texts show connections to Tikal and other Petén cities, suggesting the city maintained southern lowland political ties while existing in the northern cultural sphere. This unusual position may have given Coba advantages in controlling trade between north and south. The city appears to have been rival to Chichen Itza during the terminal Classic period, with the sakbi to Yaxuna possibly representing an attempt to encircle and contain Chichen Itza's expansion. Coba declined during the post-Classic but wasn't completely abandoned. with some occupation continuing until Spanish conquest. The site remained known to local Maya communities but was not reported to archaeology until the late 19th century. Kobe Extensive ruins still largely unexcavated. Cover over 70 square kilometers of jungle. Recent investigations using LiDAR have revealed thousands of structures beyond those visible on the surface. Izamal was one of the most sacred cities in the Maya world, a pilgrimage center famous for massive pyramids and religious significance that continued into the Spanish colonial period. Located in northern Yucatan, Izamal was occupied from the pre-classic through post-classic periods, flourishing particularly during the late classic. The city features some of the largest pyramid platforms in Mesoamerica, including Kinich-Kokmo, which has a base larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza, though at lower height. These massive platforms served as bases for temples where religious ceremonies attracted pilgrims from throughout the Maya world. Spanish chronicles record that Izamal remained a major Maya religious center when conquistadors arrived. The Spanish, recognizing the city's sacred status, deliberately built a massive Franciscan monastery atop one of the pyramids, attempting to Christianize the site while taking advantage of its established religious importance. The Convento de San Antonio de Padua, completed in 1561, still stands as one of the largest monastery complexes in the Americas. The monastery's enormous atrium could hold thousands of indigenous worshippers being forcibly converted to Christianity. Despite Spanish attempts to erase Maya religion, Izamal retained spiritual significance for Maya communities. Modern Maya continue regarding the city as sacred, with syncretic religious practices blending Christianity and traditional Maya beliefs. Izamal's pyramids remain largely unexcavated, with much of the ancient city buried under the modern colonial town. Archaeological investigation is complicated by the overlay of colonial and modern construction, but surveys have revealed the city's enormous extent. Cobnal represents the final phase of classic Maya civilization in the southern lowlands, a small center that struggled to survive as the collapse accelerated around it. Located in the Petén region, Cobnal shows evidence of continued occupation into the early 10th century CE, making it one of the last functioning cities in the region. The site's modest size and limited monumental architecture reflect the reduced circumstances of terminal classic communities. Hieroglyphic texts and settlement patterns show population decline, reduced construction quality, and eventual abandonment. Cobnal's archaeological importance lies in providing evidence of how Maya communities experienced and responded to the collapse. Rather than sudden catastrophic abandonment, the evidence suggests gradual decline with population dispersal, reduced political authority, and diminished resources. The site represents countless small centers that disappeared during the collapse. Their stories less dramatic than the fall of giants like Tikal, but equally important for understanding how Maya civilization transformed. These 37 cities represent the full scope of Maya civilization. From the massive metropolises like Tikal and Calakmul that housed over 100,000 people, to specialized trading ports like Tulum, to sacred pilgrimage centers like Izamal. Together, they created a civilization that rivaled any in the ancient world for sophistication, achieving remarkable advances in mathematics, astronomy, writing, art, and architecture without metal tools, the wheel, or large domesticated animals. The Maya collapse around 900 CE in the southern lowlands remains one of archaeology's great mysteries, but the northern city's survival into the post-classic and even to Spanish contact demonstrates Maya resilience and adaptability. Today, millions visit these ruins, marveling at pyramids emerging from jungle, deciphering hieroglyphic texts that tell of gods and kings, and contemplating a civilization that achieved greatness and left monuments ensuring it would never be forgotten.